You know what this is AJ, and this is AJ's Political Views. I want to welcome you all to AJ's Political Views. Oh boy. Oh, let me fix my chair here. I want to talk to you guys a little bit. You know, there's a lot of talk going on as regards to what's happening with the tariffs and what's going on in our country right now. As we head in a direction that doesn't look very good. And I know people are at the point where they are trusting other countries and being supportive of other countries that's going to be that has to deal with the tariffs. I understand that. I think what I don't understand, people are beginning to praise China. Let us not forget who China is. China is not very good to its people. What we don't want. Very similar to Russia. And we better be careful about what we're praising. Who's to say that all of this is not by design? Who's to say that? Who's to say that China's not did not know that this was going down? Because at the end of the day, if China does what we're hearing that they might do as it relates to American bonds, I believe, it's going to make things worse for America, not for China. And do you really think that China cares about America? Do you really think that China cares about the economy of American crashing and that the American people suffering, and knowing that this is what our president want to happen? Because he's the one that started all this and he's the one that implemented this. What make you think that China is on our side? Where are you getting this from? Why do you think that praising China works in our best interest? Listen, China is concerned about its country. Protect its country, which has absolutely nothing to do with you and me. And American people have become so gullible and so naive and so easily manipulated. That's why we are where we are, because we don't think things through. We just jump to whatever sounds and feels good. We jump over here, we jump over there, we gravitate to this, we gravitate to that, we embrace this, we embrace that. Whatever happens, we think that it's working out in our best interest. Whatever China does, it's going to have an impact on you and me. And I know that because you're angry with your government and you're angry with your country, let's not forget that you are an American. You are an American. And you supporting China doesn't make China change from what they are and what they do to their own people. No better than the government that we're dealing with right now. They're no better. In fact, in some cases, they may be worse. Because we're upset and angry with the government we have and with the tariffs that these individuals have sought to enforce on America, none of this is good for us. None of this. Just because we're angry with our government doesn't necessarily mean that we need to turn on our country. The problem is that we are looking for somebody else and seeking for somebody else to fight for us because we don't want to fight. We don't want to stand up for our country. So it sounds real good that somebody across the waters overseas in another government is standing up for us, to keep us from standing up for ourselves. Yes, we got Mexico, we got Canada, but these countries are not a threat to us. They are our allies. China is a threat to America. North Korea is a threat to America. Russia is a threat to America. Why all of a sudden we find ourselves praising governments that are a threat to us? Because you got to understand something. What's happening in America doesn't work to our benefit, but it works to the benefit of China. It works to the benefit of North Korea, and it works to the benefit of Russia. and any other countries out here that has a problem with America, regardless of the type of government that we have. What we need to be focusing on as American people is figuring out how we need to get these people out of office. How some of these individuals need to be brought before a court of law. That's what we need to be figuring out. We need to be figuring out how we can vote, how we can unite and come together as a people, as a country that represents the diversity of America, and that we all come together the way we should be coming together right now. There should be there should be at least 50, 40 million people on the street right now in this country. You know why I say that? Because it was more than that voted this past election. And if we can show up at a voting poll hoping to fight for this country and vote a certain party or person out or keep that person from coming in, certainly now that they're in power, there's other things that we can do. But the direction that many of us are going with regards to any country that desires to see America fail and fall, you find yourself praising your enemy and making it just that much easier for what they all are seeking to do to America. I am a thinker. I think things through. I don't always operate out of emotions, out of feelings. I'm angry too. I don't particularly care much for the government that we have, but I know how to separate the two. I know how to separate the government from the American people and from this country. I know the importance of us uniting and fighting for one another, standing up for one another, learning how to bridge those gaps and work across the aisles and beginning to get past the racism and the hate and fight for this country. Now, we already know that there are people in this country, there's an element in this country that represents superiority complex that you can't touch no matter no matter how you try, no matter what you say. You have to leave those people where they are. People that represents hate and racism, we have to leave them where they are. I'm not talking about those people, but I'm talking about the individuals that talk about how important it is to unify. I'm talking about the people that talk about that they're not racist. I'm talking about the people that wants to see a better America and that they're okay with the diversity here. And they value the things that we had, even though they weren't perfect, that they valued the agencies that was within this country. They valued our health and human services and our educational departments. They valued the importance of government workers and the veterans that fought for this country to keep us safe. I'm talking about those people. If you think like that and you feel like that, then you should be fighting for your country, not celebrating your country demise under the hands of people who do not like you nor your country. Because at the end of the day, all of this is going on is about money and power. And China only cares about money and power. Their people deserve better, right? So how can they speak to us when they don't even give those things to their own people? Working their peoples for nickels and dimes, forcing those people to do things that they don't want to do. It's crazy over there. So we better be very careful and make sure that we don't get caught up in a maze where suddenly we realize that China has been working with Trump all along. And it's all was a game because they were playing chess while we were playing checkers.